Hey Lynbrook, my name is Robert and I am a staffer of the Epic. Today we'll be talking about fantasy footballs and its punishments. So fantasy football is an online football draft where the player acts as the general manager of the NFL virtual team. Managers can select rosters by joining seasonal drafts and then recruiting players. And the performance of these players inside the draft is directly reflective of the real-time performance, which is updated by ESPN. So the origins of fantasy football date all the way back to the 1960s when Bill Weinenbach created a pigskin league in Oakland. Weinenbach has been dubbed the father of fantasy sports, as he has created fantasy leagues not only limited to football, but also directly to golf and baseball. So today, fantasy football has spread across not only our campus, but has also become a staple of the internet and game culture. In this video, we're going to dive into what fantasy football is like at Lynbrook and what punishments happen. First found out about fantasy football.
I first found out about fantasy football from my track friends. They said, yo, you want to play fantasy football with us? And I was just like, yeah, why not?
I see. So for this season, who's on your current draft?
I got everybody. I got Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, and Puka Nacua.
So out of all of them, who would you say is your favorite drafted player?
Saquon Barkley.
So when you create your drafts, what do you consider when you make them?
How good they were last year and how injury prone they are. Because if somebody's getting hurt every other day, I don't want them.
Alright, so has your league ever considered making punishments for the losing team? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, well, one of our punishments is egging.
Have you ever done a punishment before? So if so, how does it feel?
It felt alright. I lost the league last year and I had to make TikTok dances and post them on TikTok. And it was alright. I just posted it and called it a day. But yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Okay, so how would you say fantasy football has affected Lynbrook?
Oh, I think in a great way. I've got closer with all my friends. In our 12-man, now we're like a little group. We all make fun of each other. We all say mean things to each other, but it's all love at the end of the day.
All love.
You know what I'm saying?
So, how do you expect your draft to do this season?
Oh, outstanding, man. I'm 3-0. I'm undefeated this year. I'm going to take it home this year. I'm going to take my $100 and go home.
Damn. Okay. So, what's something you wish you knew about fantasy football before starting?
Definitely to not draft QBs high.
So how did you first find out about fantasy football?
I first found out about fantasy football through NFL news and social media.
Okay. So could you give a brief overview of fantasy football to viewers who are new?
I think fantasy football is more. I think fantasy football gives you a brief overview of NFL in general. So, if you really love NFL, fantasy football is a way to where you can draft your favorite players from your favorite teams, and over the season you can see how it turns out.
Oh. So for this specific season, who's on your current draft?
On my current draft, I have players Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Caleb Williams is the quarterback, and also Rashee Rice is our starters.
So out of those players, do you have a favorite?
I think that my favorite player is probably Bijan Robinson, since Bijan Robinson because his play style is also kind of fun to watch, and also overall he's a good player in fantasy.
So how would you say your draft is doing currently?
I would say that my draft currently isn't doing too well. Because our record is currently 0-4. But yeah, I definitely think it'll get better in the future. Hopefully.
So what do you consider when you recruit players for your draft?
I should consider what other players are available, and to make sure that I'm getting the best possible value. And I also consider their injury history to make sure that they don't get injured during the season as well.
Oh, an injury record?
Yeah, injury record and yeah.
So, has your league considered making punishments for the losing team? And if so, what are they?
Yes, I think that's definitely considered. One of the possible punishments is trick-or-treating during the summer. And then, yeah, a punishment from last year was the milk mile, where we just every lap, a person had to drink a quarter of a gallon.
Oh, so how did that milk mile go?
I mean, for the person who did it didn't go too well because he was thinking that he was gonna get a sub 10-minute mile, but it ended up being over 30 minutes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of all the punishments you've heard of in the process of researching. What's the most funny or absurd punishment you've ever heard of?
One of the craziest punishment I've heard of is sending one of your teammates to a random country, and then and basically them having to earn money for a flight back over there with no resources.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How did you find out about fantasy football?
One of my people in my team, Nathan Yee, invited me, and he's a football player, so naturally he just found out about fantasy football, probably from either social media or people in his football team.
So all in all, how's your experience playing fantasy football been?
So I played this year and last year. This year is currently week 3 today, and then last year it was kind of funny because I had Tyreek Hill, who was the highest scoring fantasy football player, and I kind of traded him away week 2, so I kind of messed up my team. But other than that, it was really fun.
So for this season, who's on your current draft?
I have Patrick Mahomes, I have Saquon Barkley, Swift, Mooney, Smith, Johnson, Dobbins, Cowboys DST, and Butker.
So how would you say your draft is going with these players?
I think my draft is not going too well, actually, because this is not my starting lineup, as I have 3 players. 2 are out and 1 is in IR.
What's IR?
IR is injured reserve, so they're out for a long time.
When you're crafting your drafts, what do you consider?
I consider their ranks, their teams, and how they scored on previous fantasy times. But there's also other things on the news, for example, and then there's also a lot of other predictions. Even Yahoo has predictions, so a lot of the times I just search online, who is the best QB? Something like that, yeah.
So do you have a favorite drafted player?
Yeah, currently I really like Barkley. I was going to draft Tyreek Hill this year, but someone took it before me, unfortunately. But Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver, and then his team's QB is injured, so he's not doing that well. So good for me.
So has your league considered making punishments for the losing team?
Yeah,
and if so, what are they?
The losers, or the ones that won't win, are going to ask someone to J-prom, a junior to J-prom. And then considering that I have a boyfriend and someone else is kind of talking to someone, it's a little suspicious, but that's just all in the fun, and we just don't want to lose.
That is nefarious. Have you ever done a punishment before?
Me, I have not. Last year we said that we would go to IHOP for 4 hours or maybe the whole day, and then every time you eat a pancake, you negate 30 minutes. But then I don't know if we actually followed through with that. I didn't lose.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you say fantasy football has affected Lynbrook and their groups and things?
I feel like fantasy football definitely brought a few people closer, because I have people that I never really talked to before just ask me hey, can you please trade me? And then we have this whole conversation sparked from that. So yeah, it's really fun.
Is there anything you wish you'd known starting off fantasy football?
I wish I didn't trade Tyreek Hill away. That was my downfall. But other than that, I wish I'd done I wish I knew more about football when I actually started. But then now that I know more, I feel like I'm doing a lot better.
Here we go. So how did you first find out about fantasy football?
So I've been watching football for a long time, and in 8th grade, a couple of my friends started playing fantasy football, and I was like, that's kind of cool. I should try to do that. So that was my first year, and yeah.
So for the viewers who are new to fantasy football, could you give a brief overview of what it is?
Yeah, it's just points based off stats. It's if someone scores a touchdown, you usually get 6 points. If a quarterback scores a touchdown, it's 4, and every yard is 0.1 points.
So for this season, who's on your current draft?
This year I got 2 running backs in Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. I had Cooper Kupp and Rashee Rice, but both of them got injured already, so we have to rely on a couple of rookies in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ladd McConkey.
Do you have a favorite out of those drafts?
The players? I really like watching Jonathan Taylor. I think he could have a really good season this year. He could definitely make a run for MVP and leading rushers, so yeah.
So how would you say your draft is doing? season?
So this season was not that good. We had a pretty good roster. I think like a website projected us to come first, but we started 0-4, not good, and we've suffered. Our wide receiver 1 and 2 has both been injured. Rushy Rice is most likely to be out for the rest of the season. So, yeah.
So, what do you consider when you create your drafts?
I know like a lot of people try to get a good quarterback and go quarterback like heavy and try wide receivers and running backs there, but I usually go my like first 7 or 8 rounds only taking wide receivers and running backs, because I think like a lot of trends that I've seen from last year is that sometimes they'll just be a league winner just hiding in like round 8 or round 9, but a quarterback rarely has that much upside compared to like a wide receiver who could easily break out.
Okay. So, has your league considered making punishments for the losing team? So, what are they?
Yeah, so our punishment this year is trick-or-treating during Halloween. I mean, not Halloween. It would be trick-or-treating in the middle of February. I think they're going to move it because February apparently had people would still have candy from Christmas. So, yeah, I think they're going to do that punishment. Last year, it was like a milk mile where a guy had to drink an entire carton of milk and then run a mile. I think he was like throwing up for like the 3 hours after, so... brutal punishment last year. I think this year's a slightly easier though.
So, what's the most funniest or absurd punishment you've ever heard of when it comes to fantasy football?
The most absurd punishment I've seen was that in like a different league, I saw this on Instagram, but in a different league, someone had to dress up in a lion costume, and it was a 9v1 paintball. Like it was like 10 minutes of paintball shooting contest. So the lion would just have to try to run, and the other league mates would shoot them with a paintball gun.
What the heck? You wouldn't consider doing that in your league?
No. maybe later, but like maybe if I'm very confident I'll win, I'll suggest it, but not this year.
Yeah. All right. So, is there anything you wish you knew about fantasy football before starting?
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's mostly, instead of like trying to talk trash, it's just, I think like the main point of it is have fun, because I've definitely seen like fantasy football take a main like reason why people don't like each other, but like it's definitely caused some like breakups almost, but like it's definitely caused some like friendships, and like a lot of those fun moments are just really dumb moments where a team just drops like half the points that the other team drops. Those are just like some fun to watch.